How does a legal marriage between two adults turn into a chain of pressure so intense that within weeks, one person is found dead near railway tracks, and even the first official statements feel like the conclusion was decided before the questions were asked? Now, listen carefully, because the most disturbing part is not just what happened, it is how many doors were closed before they were even opened. If you like calm, detailed, audio-only case stories with a clear timeline, subscribe now and switch on notifications so you don't miss the next file. The year is 2007. The place is India in West Bengal in a large eastern metro city. This story is about Victim, a 30-year-old working professional who taught computer graphics at a private training institute. People around him described him as disciplined, polite, and serious about his future. He met Woman there. She was his student. Their relationship grew quietly because their families came from very different worlds, different wealth, different community backgrounds, different expectations. And because of that gap, they kept everything hidden until they took a step that changed everything. In mid-August 2007, Victim and Woman registered their marriage under the law. No big ceremony, no public announcement, only a few witnesses. At first, life looked almost normal. Woman stayed with her family for a short period. Victim continued working, but a marriage does not stay secret forever. By the end of August, Woman left her family home and moved into Victim's modest apartment. That move was the turning key. The couple sent written messages to local authorities saying in simple terms, "We are legally married. We fear pressure and interference. Please protect us." Then the visits began. Members of Woman's family came to the apartment and tried to convince her to return. She refused. That refusal did not end the story. It started a new one. Soon after, police officers visited the home. Then the couple was called to police headquarters. According to the case records described in the input, the couple was questioned and Victim felt targeted and intimidated. He believed complaints were being filed against him to create fear, fear of arrest, fear of consequences, fear of losing everything. Think about this. If two adults are legally married, what is the role of the system here? To protect them or to pressure them? Public reports do not clearly mention every word said inside those rooms, but the pattern described is clear. Repeated contact, repeated pressure, repeated attempts to separate them. Over the next days, an intermediary entered the picture. Person A, described as someone connected to Victim's side, who became a bridge between the two families. Money is mentioned in the case dossier as part of this phase. Payments, meetings, and alleged efforts to break the marriage. And then came a moment that changed everything. An agreement was signed at police headquarters. The result, Woman was handed over to her family side with a condition: she would return within a short, fixed time window. But after that, Victim began spending nights away from his own home. He was afraid. He believed he could be trapped in a false case. He believed the pressure was not ending. And then the calls between the couple reduced. One phone conversation is described as the last direct contact. The deadline passed. Victim tried reaching out. No response. Imagine the mental state here. Your legal spouse is out of reach. You believe powerful people are closing doors, and every day feels like the system is not neutral. On the morning of 21 September 2007, Victim left a relative's house without breakfast. He handed over 2 packets to a family member and asked that they be delivered to specific people. There are also messages mentioned in the dossier, urgent messages sent to Woman's family asking to speak to her one last time. Public reports do not clearly mention the full context of those messages beyond what is described in the input. Then a call was made to a rights group contact. Victim said he would meet later that day with more material related to the pressure he had faced. And within hours, he was found dead near railway tracks. From the input, the investigation later discussed evidence in broad categories: witness statements, including railway staff accounts, phone records, call logs, and text message records, documents, the marriage record, written requests for protection, and the signed agreement, digital trail, a written note recovered from a computer's deleted folders, court documents, filings, orders, and later challenges to the investigation direction. Now, listen carefully. This case did not stay inside one police station. It moved. First, local handling, then state-level transfer, then a national agency investigation by Central Bureau of Investigation, and the public reaction, described as intense, added pressure from the outside. Here's the turning point. The national agency conclusion described in the input leans towards this: victim ended his own life by stepping into the path of an oncoming train. But the same dossier also contains contradictions that keep this case alive in public memory. A railway driver's statement described in the input raises doubts about what he saw and what he didn't see. It suggests uncertainty about whether the body was struck in the way people assumed. Public reports do not clearly mention a single agreed explanation that satisfies everyone. There is also a dispute described about the language style of the final messages, whether they matched victim's usual pattern. That alone does not prove anything, but combined with everything else, it becomes part of the doubt cloud. A written note recovered from a computer is described as naming several people and describing emotional exhaustion and loss of hope. But the set of people named in that note and the set of people charged later did not perfectly match. So the key point is this: even when an investigation produces an official direction, contradictions can keep the public from feeling closure. From the input, the national agency filed a case framing it as a conspiracy and intimidation that allegedly pushed victim towards a self-harm incident. Multiple individuals were named as accused in the dossier, including members connected to woman's family side, an intermediary figure, and police personnel accused of improper pressure and intimidation. There were arrests and bail. There were court battles over what the case should be treated as. The Calcutta High Court issued orders at different stages, and later the Supreme Court of India weighed in and directed the matter to proceed along the charges as described in the dossier. According to the input you provided, a final verdict is not clearly confirmed in reliable public records up to February 2026, and the trial status is described as ongoing or not clearly concluded. So the outcome, in simple words, is this: the case became a long legal battle. The official conclusion described points towards a self-harm incident, but the contradictions and the allegations of pressure kept the case controversial for years. Think about this. When families, power, and social pressure collide, the danger is not only physical, it's psychological. It's the feeling that there is no safe exit. This case, as described in your input, is a warning about something bigger than one relationship. If adults choose each other legally, interference can become a form of control. If institutions act like family mediators instead of neutral protectors, pressure can multiply fast. And once fear replaces safety, people stop thinking in long timelines. They think in desperate minutes. If you want, comment one thing below. Do you think this case is mainly about a relationship conflict or mainly about misuse of influence? This story is shared for awareness and educational purposes based on public reports.